Hollywood's not the only place making headlines. In 2025, these 5 openly gay athletes are turning stadiums into stages and truth into power. They've got the bodies, the talent, and the courage to live out loud in the toughest arenas on earth. This isn't just about sports, it's about breaking silence and breaking history. Hit that subscribe because Hollywood Raw brings you the stories others won't. Arthur Nory was born to flip, not just through the air, but through every expectation ever placed on him. With a smile that lit up arenas and a body carved for motion, he quickly became one of Brazil's most beloved gymnasts. His breakthrough came at the 2016 Rio Olympics, where he soared into the global spotlight with a bronze medal win in men's floor exercise. But medals weren't the only thing he carried on his shoulders. There was something else. Something he didn't show the judges. For years, Arthur lived with a truth that didn't fit the image the world had built around him. Behind the routines and the applause was a young man navigating identity in a culture that still struggled with acceptance. Arthur wasn't just Brazil's golden boy. He was supposed to be perfect, masculine, untouchable. And yet, beneath the polished performance, there was a quiet war between who he was and who he was expected to be. For a long time, he stayed silent, not out of shame, but out of fear. Fear that being himself would mean losing the country that once lifted him high. But even fear has its limits. In 2021, Arthur posted a soft, joyful photo with his boyfriend on Instagram. No grand announcement, no press release. Just love, just truth. And in that moment, he didn't just come out, he came alive. Fans across Brazil and beyond embraced him, not as a symbol, but as a human being finally free to breathe. Since then, Arthur has become a quiet icon, not because he speaks loudly, but because he lives honestly. He still trains, still competes, still dances through the air with the grace of someone who no longer carries the weight of hiding. In a sport that prizes control, Arthur's greatest strength turned out to be vulnerability. And just when you thought no one could match that quiet courage, Gus Kenworthy shows up, loud, proud, and unafraid to shake the snow beneath him. Gus Kenworthy never played it safe. Not on the slopes, not in life. With silver hair, silver medals, and a rebellious charm that screamed rock star more than Olympic athlete, Gus turned freestyle skiing into a spectacle. At the 2014 Sochi Winter Olympics, he won silver in slopestyle, but it wasn't just the podium that got the world talking. It was the story behind it. The stray puppies he rescued, the warmth behind the swagger. Gus wasn't just a champion, he was a contradiction. Rugged yet tender, private yet magnetic. But behind the victories and viral headlines was a secret eating away at him. Gus was gay, and hiding it felt like suffocating in plain sight. Skiing, after all, was a hyper-masculine world. Locker rooms, sponsorships, expectations. He was afraid of being judged, afraid that coming out would mean losing endorsements, teammates, maybe even his sport. So, for years, he wore the mask. Perfect son, perfect skier, perfect lie. Until one day the pressure cracked, and Gus decided to choose truth over safety. In 2015, he came out publicly in an ESPN interview, and the world exploded. Not in hate, but in celebration. Gus became one of the first openly gay extreme sports athletes on the global stage, and he didn't stop there. He kissed his boyfriend on live TV during the 2018 Olympics. He starred in film, spoke at rallies, and became an outspoken advocate for LGBTQ+ rights. But more than anything, he lived out loud. No filter, no apologies, just Gus. Funny, flawed, fierce. His bravery didn't just inspire queer athletes, it shook an entire culture into rethinking what strength looks like. And just when the noise settled, Colin Grafton took the stage, not with fireworks, but with elegance and quiet defiance on ice. Colin Grafton didn't grow up chasing medals, he chased the quiet magic of movement. He found home on the ice, not in podiums or applause, but in the rhythm of blades gliding across frozen silence. Figure skating gave him structure, escape, and expression, the kind that didn't need words. From the outside, he was elegant, driven, focused, but inside he was holding back something deeper, something that didn't fit into the tight costume of public image, his truth. Colin was gay, and like many in the world of elite athletics, he kept it buried beneath choreography. He wasn't ashamed, he was just surviving. Skating may look glamorous, but the culture behind it wasn't always kind. There were rules, spoken and unspoken, expectations of masculinity, image, control. So, he let his routine speak for him. Let music carry what he couldn't say aloud. He perfected the smile, delivered the performance, but under every spin and landing was a heart still waiting to be seen. Then quietly, and on his own terms, he came out. No front-page headline, no dramatic reveal, just truth, lived honestly. And with that, everything changed. As the first out professional skater on Dancing on Ice UK, Colin stepped into a new kind of spotlight, one where his full self could exist. On screen, he remained graceful. Off screen, he became a voice, a mentor, a symbol. Not because he tried to be, but because he dared to be real. And in that honesty, he gave permission to others still trapped in silence. Colin Grafton didn't need to be loud to make history. But Josh Cavallo? He came out like a lightning strike, bold, emotional, and impossible to ignore. Josh Cavallo didn't just kick a ball, he kicked down a wall. In a sport where silence often screams louder than words, Josh did the unthinkable. He came out, not after retirement, not in a memoir, but right in the middle of his career, boots on, game on, future uncertain. In 2021, with one video and one raw, honest voice, he made history as the first openly gay male professional footballer playing in a top-flight league. And the world didn't just listen, it held its breath. Born in Australia to a multicultural family, Josh grew up loving the beautiful game. From backyard kicks to professional contracts, soccer was his everything. But with every goal, every crowd chant, every locker room moment, there was a fear he couldn't outrun. That being honest about who he was would end it all. That teammates would turn, coaches would back off, fans would jeer. So he hid, not because he wanted to lie, but because the truth felt like a career-ending risk. But hiding has a weight, and eventually it crushed him. Josh later admitted he had dark days, moments of isolation, times when pretending felt like a slow kind of dying. Until finally, he said no more. He filmed a video, sat in front of a camera, and told the world, "I'm a footballer, and I'm gay." The simplicity was powerful. The courage was undeniable. The impact, global. Athletes, celebrities, fans, even FIFA spoke out in support. And suddenly, this soft-spoken left-back from Adelaide became a symbol of something much bigger than soccer. Josh didn't stop there. He used his platform to call out abuse, challenge homophobia in sports, and inspire young queer athletes to keep going. He played proudly, spoke openly, and showed the world that queerness and competitiveness aren't contradictions. They're both forms of strength. In a world that told him to wait, to hide, to come out later, Josh chose now. And just when the world thought football had reached its turning point, Michael Sam took it further, charging into the heart of America's toughest sport with truth as his armor. Michael Sam wasn't supposed to say it. Not there, not then. In 2014, just months before the NFL draft, he did something that stunned the sports world. He came out as gay. No warning, no carefully staged interview, just truth. Loud, proud, and unshakable. He wasn't a retired legend or a second-string backup. He was a college football star, an SEC Defensive Player of the Year, a man about to be drafted into America's most macho, high-stakes sport. And with one brave sentence, he made history and set off a cultural earthquake. Michael knew what was at stake. Football wasn't just a game. It was a battlefield of masculinity, where toughness meant silence and identity was something you left in the locker room. Coming out wasn't just a personal risk. It was a professional gamble. But he wasn't chasing comfort. He was chasing change. When he was drafted by the St. Louis Rams, he became the first openly gay player ever selected in the NFL draft. And as his name was called, he kissed his boyfriend on live television, an image that shattered barriers and sparked a national conversation. But Michael's story didn't follow the fairy tale script. He was cut before the regular season, picked up, cut again. Opportunities faded. Whispers followed. Some celebrated him, others quietly shut the door. He later revealed how deeply the experience affected him, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. But even as teams passed him over, Michael never stopped showing up. He became a speaker, a mentor, a symbol, not of triumph over adversity, but of choosing authenticity over acceptance, of being brave enough to say, even if this cost me everything, I still won. Today, Michael Sam's name may not fill highlight reels, but it fills hearts. Because what he did opened a path, not just for the next gay football player, but for every athlete afraid to be seen. Now it's your turn. You've met 5 powerful men, each one bold, brave, and beautifully different. But we want to know, which one inspired you the most? Whose story moved you, surprised you, or made you feel a little more seen? Drop their name in the comments, whether it's Arthur, Gus, Colin, Josh, or Michael. Let's celebrate the power of truth and the courage it takes to live it out loud. They didn't wait for Hollywood to write their story. They wrote it themselves. These athletes turned truth into victory and fear into fuel. So which story hit you hardest? Drop a comment, like, and follow Hollywood Raw for more fearless icons rewriting the rules. Because real power? It's raw, it's bold, and it's just getting started.